Sun Tzu was a Chinese general who lived back in the 500 BC period and is credited with writing The Art of War, a book on military strategy and philosophy which is used to this day and taught in military colleges. Translations of much of the text have been uncertain over the centuries, but there is a bit about the uses of spies and espionage which L. Ron Hubbard found useful, especially since Scientology has its own intelligence and espionage unit, called the Office of Special Affairs, or OSA. This group spies on, stalks, harasses, and tries to destroy critics of Scientology and any other person or group who are perceived as threats to Scientology's operations. L. Ron Hubbard specifically refers to Sun Tzu's description of what is called the dead agent, or dead spy, in an issue called The Missing Ingredient from August 13, 1970, when he wrote this. Sun Tzu, in his book about warfare, gives several types of agent. One of these is the dead agent, because he tells lies to the enemy, and when they find out, they will kill him. Hostile or counter PR is usually the usual fabric of lies. If one finds out the lies being told and documents just one as being false, he has made counter PR recoil. His hearer will never believe him again. He's dead. Now that's slightly cryptic, so Hubbard elaborated on this in an issue from November 21, 1972, called How to Handle Black Propaganda. The technique of proving utterances false is called dead agenting. It's in the first book of Chinese espionage. When the enemy agent gives false data, those who believed him but now find it false kill him, or at least cease to believe him. So the PR slang for it is dead agenting. This consists of disproving utterly the false statement with documents or demonstration or display. One has to have a kit, a collection of documents, or the ability to demonstrate, or something to display. Statement. I've been told you are in trouble with income tax people. Rebuttal. Here's a document of fully paid taxes and a letter of commendation from the tax authorities. Displays same. Result? Whoever told him that is now dead with him as an accurate informer. When one hasn't got the document but can get it, one can say, you tell me the name of whoever said that, and next time I see you, I'll show you something very interesting about it. Now here's the problem Scientology has. In order to use dead agenting properly, you have to be telling the truth. The problem that David Miscavige and his minions in OSA face is that they are bald-faced liars. Scientology does not do what it says it is doing. It is incapable of producing the long-term gains it claims it can, and it even lied to the U.S. government about its day-to-day operations in order to unfairly gain tax-exempt status. In media interviews, Scientologists make completely unsubstantiated claims about the size of its membership. Scientology commercials tell lies about the kind of help it gives in areas of human rights, disaster relief, and drug abuse. Even their website uses Photoshop pictures of how many people attend the openings of their renovated church properties. When critics call Scientology out on these points, Scientology cannot give documentation disproving these statements. And so, dead agenting is impossible. So instead, OSA has to fall back to a much older and much more widely used brand of argument called ad hominem. Ad hominem is Latin and means to the man or to the person. And how it works is, instead of arguing the actual point being discussed, you instead attack the character, motive, or some other personal attribute of the person making the argument. We see it all the time in politics and in the media, and it makes for very interesting and entertaining battles. Because we see it all the time, many people think that an ad hominem attack is perfectly valid and reasonable and don't see anything wrong with doing it. However, when you engage in ad hominem, you're actually not making any real sense. This is why people who understand logic and reason call ad hominem a logical fallacy or faulty reasoning. When you engage in ad hominem, you're basically admitting you don't know what you're talking about or that your argument has no real merit. Rather than concede or give up, usually out of spite or malice, you instead just start calling the other person names. It's the kind of argument a 7-year-old uses. A really stupid 7-year-old. What Scientology does is A, attacks its critics with personal name-calling, using exaggerated or wholly made-up lies to paint the critic in a bad light so people will think poorly of the critic. B, then claims through a series of lies and hyperbole how great Scientology is doing in the world today. These are supposed to get readers or listeners into a frame of mind where they think that Scientology critics are just crazy people who are mindlessly attacking because they want to watch the world burn, and are afraid that Scientology is somehow going to thwart their evil plans. To most people, the attacks are so heavy-handed and exaggerated that anyone can see their nonsense. The people who write this stuff generally are Sea Organization members who are cut off from the real world, don't get a lot of sleep, work extremely long hours for little to no compensation, and lead generally miserable lives. It's almost impossible to understand why anyone would allow themselves to be used and abused in such a manner. But when someone thinks they're fighting for a righteous cause, they've been known to do some extraordinarily insane things. Ad hominem media attacks are but a part of what Scientology does to its critics, and this is what the new Scientology Media Productions is going to specialize in when it opens. It calls these ad hominem attacks dead agenting, but as you can see, they are perverting their own policies because Scientology has degraded so badly over the last few decades under David Miscavige's leadership that they can't counter honest and real criticism of their operations. Scientology Media Productions is going to be working flat out to try to change the conversation about Scientology by rebranding Scientology as a wonderful and significant force for positive change in the world. A religious movement being led by David Miscavige, who they will claim has nothing but the very best motives and who has never done any of the hurtful things he's been accused of by his detractors. There will especially be a lot of fluff about how David Miscavige has personally led the crusade to expand Scientology across the world, and there will be a lot of video and photographs of church real estate. What you won't see is any real evidence of Scientology doing anything lasting or positive to affect real change in the global problems of hunger, illiteracy, or war. What's more, not once will any Scientology spokesman ever concede that Scientology has ever done anything wrong, nor that any critic of Scientology ever has a valid point. Not even one. They will be following the explicit instructions of L. Ron Hubbard from a confidential issue for OSA written back in 1972 called Black Propaganda, which states, 1. Seek to avoid opportunities for the enemy to classify us. 2. Contest or expose any previous classification as false, dead agentry, etc. 3. Engage in a series of campaigns which confuse past classification. 4. Achieve for ourselves a dominance in classifying ourselves and others. This rebranding will be an interesting but fruitless endeavor because Scientology, in truth, is a toxic and destructive cult. It does force people to break up with their families and non-Scientologist friends. It does destroy people financially, emotionally, and mentally. And unlike Scientology media spokespeople, any Scientology critic can easily and rapidly produce explicit documentation and proof for every one of these claims. For your own good and the good of your loved ones and friends, stay as far away from the Church of Scientology as you can. Thank you for watching.